Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
You know the frequency, yeah. You know the frequency. Come on. You know the frequency, yeah. You know the frequency.
I've been upgrading my frequency. I've been protecting my energy. I've been upgrading my frequency. No matter what, I protect my energy.
We off the grid.
Yes, we are back. Y'all listen to the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. I am your host, B. Cotta.
Double D, Derek Demers.
Charlie Perry. And we have a special guest host, Carmen Emerald. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here.
Yes, our normal hosts, Jasmine and Joe, they're out sick. They've been sick a lot of times, Derek. They're about to get dark.
I mean, when you give sick days, that's what happens, right?
15 sick days a year.
15. Not over here.
But we're fortunate to have Charlie and Carmen step in.
Yeah, we're going. So what's going on, Charlie?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Been doing a lot of things, especially thanks to your brainstorming with the Wind Down Productions.
Yep.
You got me going now.
Yeah. I'm glad that you had that inspiration to do so. That's why I wanted to bring you on. Derek, I spoke to you about it. We're gonna put together a production company.
Derek's part of it.
Yeah, I want Derek to be part of it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Did you get that before right
No,
now?
I don't.
All right.
Yes, you did. I spoke to you a couple
You
times
mentioned
about
it.
it.
You mentioned you wanted to talk about
I mentioned I wanted to talk about it, but what I want to do is put together a production company and create like documentaries about stories, like audio documentaries and video documentaries about stories that's within the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of interesting stories that I think people will be interested in. So it's something I want to put together. Using the name of my old podcast, the Wind Down Podcast, it just turns into a production company. So that's in the process. I think will be interesting. I just want to get the right team together.
Yep. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. So Charlie got his first idea.
Keithy Francis, local track star, went on to Boston College and also tried out for the United States Olympic team, 1976. He didn't make the team, but that was an accomplishment in itself. And plus, he was my parents' friend and also a mentor for me growing up. Tremendous athlete, basketball and track, and it's amazing. I can't wait to get started.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting, and this will be the first one. Then we get into the big one.
Yes, the big one.
The big one. Well, we won't say nothing.
Little teaser.
Right,
This is
the big.
No spoilers?
No.
Silhouette interviews.
Yeah.
Leaving us hanging.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That one's gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a lot of work. I can't wait for that one. Also, so Carmen, you're coming on to be not only a guest but a guest host.
I know.
Are you ready for this position?
Here I am, so I guess so.
Yep.
Kind of how I live my life.
Oh, there you go. You're taking not replace, but a place of our co-host Jasmine, the female of the crew, and I call her. She's a savage. She's just a savage. So don't be shy. Yeah. She's not shy.
I've heard she's not, and I appreciate her voice on the show for sure.
Yeah.
She's a powerful voice, and I appreciate her voice also. All right, so we're gonna take a music break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna get to know Carmen Emerald. Before we get into our topics, we gotta know who is our guest host. So we'll be right back with Carmen Emerald. Y'all listen to the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. I'm gonna play some. I want this. Get slow for a little bit, Charlie.
All right.
I think this guy is the best songwriter of all time. His name is Babyface.
I taught him everything he knows.
Oh, you did? All right. And this song is called 7 Seas. 7 Seas from Babyface. We'll be right back. Y'all listen to the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. Download the app or keep it locked if you're watching on Facebook Live. We'll be right back. Yes, yes, we are back. We are back. That was Babyface, Seven Seas. I'm telling you, that hit the vibe. I could travel around the seas for you, and I will walk around China's wall for you.
Mm.
It's a long walk.
That's love right there. That's love. That love don't exist.
Listen, at least we have something different besides Usher. Okay, so
Oh, I love his album. I should be playing his album every night, every week. All right, so we are back. Y'all listen to the one.
Actually, Carmen, if Usher was here, would you dance with him?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
See?
Who says no to that question? I
Mr.
need to know.
That's Mr. Steal Your Girl right there. He's a menace. He's a menace. All right, y'all listen to the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. Download the WMB1 Radio app so you can listen to the music we just played as well as the conversations, or log on WMB1.com and you can listen there, or keep it locked on Facebook Live. You can watch us here, and I know you want to see our pretty faces if you're watching, so do that. All right, Carmen Amaral.
Yes. Here I am.
Here you are.
Surprise,
All right, let's get to know our guest host. So number one, we just spoke off air. You're an educator, right?
I am.
All right. So speak on your educational experience
As a student?
as a educator.
As an educator. Well, I'm a career changer. So I have an undergraduate degree in science and worked in pharmaceuticals for a little while, and ended up in education by mistake, sort of. I was like, oh, this is temporary. I'll go back into the lab. 24 years later, here I am. Education is a huge part of who I am. I came here when I was 4. My brother is 7 years older.
From where?
The Azores, San Miguel. And, I was in bilingual classes and kind of like pigeonholed into, well, maybe you should do this. And my brother had the same experience. And I feel really strongly that you don't do that to kids. And so that is what my career has become. I think everyone can achieve. Every single student can achieve. It's not our job to, create ceilings for kids and say these kids can and these kids can't. That's not what we do. We remove barriers and, we give them the tools they need, and they're not going to get there at the same rate, and that has to be okay.
Yes, I like that.
But they will get there.
Oh, so you just opened up a door that I wanted to get into. We spoke.
Go on.
We spoke briefly about how we learn, like how I've learned as I've grown. That I've learned through communication, conversation, what I see and experiences. Versus, you may have people who may read books and they learn through that process. So when you go into a school system, they probably, I don't know how it works, but most likely, I'm assuming that they may have one way of teaching. Unless the teacher really is innovative to understand that every student is differently, they got to teach the curriculum differently to each student. Is that?
Yeah.
Am I assuming right or?
Yeah. So, I'm in secondary ed, right? So I've been in 9 through 12 my entire career. And there are certain standards, curriculum frameworks that every teacher is tasked with. Okay, this is the content you have to teach kids. But I firmly believe that teachers are creative. They're artists. They know their students. They can pivot if they have to. They can and should try new things. What works with one class in the middle of the day doesn't work at the end of the day. So that delivery is individual. And teachers are incredibly hardworking. It's personal work. Like you are. It's other people's children. You're giving your time from your family and your children for other people's children. That's a big deal, and you have to trust. And of course, with any job, there's coaching and oversight and accountability, but teachers need to have the freedom to reach the students in front of them and be creative and make those decisions, like you're saying. So, like, I'm not gonna, when I was in the classroom, if you walked into my class and I was teaching acid-base theory, because I taught chemistry, you probably weren't going to walk into the teacher next door and see her doing it the same way I was doing it. We have different kids in front of us, right? So you have to let people be creative.
Are you allowed though? Like, I don't know if nowadays are teachers being micromanaged, because
it's my understanding that in some places they are. Like, I know there are some schools. I was talking to a friend of mine who is a principal in Providence, and she went to go look at a school. in Connecticut, and she went into different classrooms, and they were pretty much on pace with like a pre-purchased prepared curriculum, and the delivery was almost identical. And sometimes you do see that. I didn't teach that way. My teachers don't teach that way, but that does happen. Yeah.
Derek?
What is it? Okay. Besides you being a teacher, what do you do in the community?
I have been volunteering with the Women's Fund South Coast for 6 years now, and this is my second term as board president.
Oh, nice. So were you always in New Bedford?
I was not born here, but I've been here for most of my life.
Okay. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a great community.
Yeah, I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Yeah. Good. So what is it that you do there? What is that?
So the Women's Fund South Coast, we've been around for 24 years. We became incorporated right before the pandemic. We became our own 501c3. But it is an organization dedicated to empowering women and girls in the South Coast. So our work really centers around we make money to give money, right? We give out grants to support different programs, women, girls, gender expansive people, women's reproductive health, period justice. On AHA Night, we have two things happening. The New Bedford Fishing Heritage Center, one of our grant partners, we funded a project where younger women interviewed older women about their role in the fishing industry, because the role of women in the fishing industry is often not spoken of. You think of fishermen and not all the work the women and what they did historically. So that'll be at the New Bedford Fishing Heritage Center. And we also have on display, and I'll look up the details, the timeline of women's history in New Bedford with another organization that night. So that's gonna March 14th.
What's your obligation to it as far as time? Are you obligated to be on the board for 1 year, 2 year? How's that work for you guys?
So maximum 6 years. Max 6 years.
That's good.
And you've been in this position how long?
So this is my second year as board president.
Oh, so you could do it for 4 more years.
Yes, I could do it for 4 more years.
You have to get voted in, or
Yeah, voted in every year.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but I mean, they're incredible people, the volunteers, the board members. I've learned so much about what women have done in New Bedford since starting to volunteer there. And I finished grad school, and I got back from Senegal, and I was like, okay, I'm done with grad school. My fellowship is done. What am I going to do now in the community? And I Googled it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let me see what the Women's Fund does.
Yeah.
So you just felt like the need to be involved,
Yes.
do something in your community.
Yeah, it's kind of.
And you Googled it.
Who I am.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So to become the president, do you run against other people that may be interested in that position, or
if somebody else were interested, somebody would nominate them. But I was renominated this past year, and typically in nonprofits, you want to build a pipeline of people who are going to come in and make sure they steward the mission of the organization and new ideas, representative of the community. So I hope that that's the direction we continue to move in.
So are you being the president? Are you also responsible as far as trying to get even more funding because it's a nonprofit?
So I mean, that's all of our jobs, right? We have an executive director. We have 2 employees. We're a totally volunteer-based organization. So that's all of our job, to get the word out on what we do. And individual donations matter just as much as the ED writing a grant. Bristol County Savings Bank, we've gotten a grant from them to help with financial literacy programs. And that's been fantastic. So that's everyone's job.
No, I'm good.
Go ahead.
I find that being on boards sometimes it's very hard to get volunteers to do things, and I'm so glad that you have a structure and an obligation by each board member to stay a length of period of time. It's very, very important that when you say I want to do this, you got to stick to it. There may be some situations where you have to maybe step down or resign, but I'm glad that that's in place. Especially, it's very, very important when you're doing different things and trying to empower women They want to make sure that you're serious about what you're saying to them. So I'm glad. And that goes for men, women, children, anybody. There has to be a set obligation when you're doing things like that. And I'm glad you're doing it. And keep up the good work.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, time, talent, and treasure, right? Not everybody can give all three, but
Mhm.
if you can give a little bit of one,
Yep.
change is incremental.
So
And it is Women's Month, March.
It is Women's
by
History
chance that
Month.
you're here tonight. So
How come does
That
men
was
have a month?
coincidence. Yeah, the other 11.
yeah.
she had that.
I
ready
don't
to
know
go.
about that one though. I don't know about that one because we can get into like a gender conversation.
Let's.
You know something? Yeah, let's for a little bit. Let's.
There's
Because-
a really famous quote by Virginia Woolf that says, "For most of history, Anonymous was a woman."
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally. This is what I agree because I feel like this is what I say. Like when you talk about the head of the household, we use that. Everybody thinks the man, but the man is not making no decision
Yeah.
about the okay of the woman.
the woman.
So she actually runs the household. It's just the perception is the reality. And
Yeah.
Is that a great analogy? A good analogy?
Yeah, I mean, it's so women for a long time, women couldn't work, right? It
Yeah.
was the expectation was, this gender role was that you stayed at home and you were a mother. But women are working. They have the ability to, which is wonderful, but they still typically, and not always, but this is just structural. This is not like one man's fault. Carry that emotional burden, that planning. They're the planners. It's like, okay, there's the calendar, there's the things that need to be done, and their partner may execute, and that's wonderful, but that thinking, that emotional labor in addition to the full-time job and all the other stuff that you're equal in, that's an additional layer to the existence of a woman.
Yeah, I think women are better organizers than men are, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Everything you say.
But it's how can I say? See, I don't want to get into this like crazy, but I like
say it.
no, but it's like no, because in my opinion, like I value women. I think women are here, men are below. Below, I really honestly feel
Yeah,
that
we've had
way.
this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, like I really believe that. That's why I I hold women to a higher standard because of that. I think women set the standard in society in general. I really feel like that because nothing's gonna implement in society what the women's okay because the women don't want it. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And so when you look at society, I feel like you have to really just as much hold women as accountable, good or bad.
Absolutely. The accountability needs to be there, but they also need to, I agree. Women need to be accountable. I think sometimes standards are even more stringent for women because there are less of them in positions of power and with a voice. So people are almost more critical of them because there are fewer of them. Women tend to be more critical of themselves. Making a mistake, they beat themselves up because they're the representative for their entire group, or sometimes it may feel that way. And so, you want to be cognizant of them of that as well. And just, I think the language is, I'm not like the language police, but I think of some of the terms used to describe women's behavior. We have to think of that too. Like, asking if I remember after Hillary Clinton, after a speech, somebody asked, she did a great job. And they said, why didn't you smile? That's a weird question. Do you ask that of a man?
Yeah.
True.
Just those kinds of small, they're just built into our fabric. Nobody's doing it on purpose, but we have to think of that. So it's holding women to a higher standard, but we have to, I think it should be an equal standard and elevate all women so that they feel like they belong.
Yes, I'm right in line with you. I completely agree. But I also look at we men and women are equal, but we're different.
Yes.
And I think that we're not I think as a society, as a generation, we're not understanding that. They like I think when everybody wants to be the same, we're not the same. We're really not.
But as people, we're different. As humans, too,
yes,
right? Like
yes.
in addition to gender,
Right,
we're
right.
just different.
Yes, and that prolongs it. It's like I feel like with men, like just looking at what like our whole thing is to protect or provide, whatever, because we're stronger physically. That's the difference in between.
Generally, testosterone, greater muscle mass,
Yes,
different
it's not
fast
it's not
twitch
like
and slow
I'm not
twitch
being
fibers.
misogynistic.
No.
We're just going by facts.
I'll give you the science.
All right, just let me. I'm
General.
trying to use the right words.
She'll catch you.
know what I'm
She'll
saying?
catch you
Because-
if you are.
All right, because I do. I really value women. So it is like we're protecting them. So because we're protecting them, we see a lot of things that maybe women may not see. The ugliness of what we see. So a lot of time, I think in this generation.
What do you mean?
Like for an example, all right. How can I a good analogy about it? All right, let's use like police officers in the military. Majority of them is male, right? Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, because for a very long time, women weren't allowed in those.
Okay, yeah,
areas.
that's a different conversation. Yeah,
Yep.
you're absolutely correct. But the majority male.
Yeah.
And majority of the people that go into those jobs are male. Women don't normally. That's the first I'm going to those jobs. Not to saying they can't do it, but so because of those jobs, what do you see in those jobs? Like you're a police officer, you seen. I'm sorry, you seen a lot of crazy stuff that your wife can't comprehend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we come from that's the difference with us, where we may come from a different type of experience that women may not experience, where they should respect that experience as well as a woman, as men gotta respect a woman's opinion.
Well, that mono or that, there's a lot of men tend to take on this. They want to hold in so many things. I want to be that strong being in the household, where it may be better for you to have a bad day at work, emotionally, physically, whatever, and then go home and talk to someone about it, like your spouse. And where they can, kind of give you a better idea on how to deal with it, right? Or at least put something in the back of your head.
But let me ask this: is that if she had the same experiences as you as a man, would she be able to be that person that you can go home to?
I would say yeah, because
Okay.
I really learned a lot. And I say I learned a lot because of there were situations where I just wasn't saying anything or speaking on it. Once I learned that I could speak on it and get another perspective, especially from a woman, whether it's the wife, whether it's my aunt, whether it's my sister, whatever it may be, I said, man, I should have did that a long time ago. I wouldn't have all this grief and all this stress on my head if I thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So the I think that I've it was just that, look, I'll handle it. But as you say, I'll handle it 20, 30 times. Guess what? It's just building up on you.
Hell yeah.
It becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So, to release it and let it out, especially when you go home, talk about it. That's why there's coffee time. That's why
I feel like the differences is valuable. Where like I respect the fact that we're equal, but our differences is needed. That's just one example.
I was looking for a poem, and I'm sorry that I was paying attention, but I was on my phone.
Is it roses are red, violets are blue?
Oh, this was
He's deeper than that.
The title of it was "Man, That Woman."
Yeah.
And it's not the physical being of a man. It's just that phrase, "Man, that woman," where their accomplishments are amazing. Being a single parent and doing this and doing that, juggling everything from planning for the family, doing all those things. And I was trying to look for it so I can at least say it. But I'm pretty sure, like Berto says, he puts women up there, and I'm the same thing. I come from a family with strong women, and they were the go-to, from my grandmother, my aunt, my mom. They were just always there. Older cousins, and the men were like would smack me upside the head, get going, kick me in the butt just to suck it up, something like that, where you can kind of sit with those women in my family and give you a better perspective of it. So,
I got 4 sisters, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I got a beautiful daughter, so
Yeah. Did you
women is
ever
important.
mistake one sister for the other at any point?
No. I mean,
Never a
I
problem?
could pick them apart. Yeah.
you didn't.
Most people can't, when especially when they were younger. But
Which one did you choose more than the other?
if they're listening, I can't
You could
choose.
plead the fifth, right?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
choose them both equally. But can I just add that we did the special Berto on Martin Luther King, and we spoke about how that was like a generation ago, or generation and a half ago, or whatever. When you talk about like women, like they couldn't, I think, like apply for a loan until like 1974, I think.
Yes.
So it's like all, we talk about like the progress we made when it comes to, the Black community and equal rights, whatever. Like when it comes to women, we're kind of like following the same timeline as far as like shit that they're going through or went through and, try to accomplish too, which now we're getting there a little bit, like anything else.
It's incremental.
Yeah.
Change is glacial, it feels like, when you're in the moment.
Yeah. We have a woman vice president right now.
We do.
We have another one running for president.
Mhm.
So I think slowly, not fast enough. It's never fast enough, and it's never enough. But I mean, I think we're making steps.
Well, what we don't realize is that. Let me ask you a question. When was this country founded? When was this country
Colonized?
like when was it founded as what we know it today?
Like in the history books, maybe
Yeah.
like Plymouth 1620.
Like somebody say 1620, somebody say 1776, this and that. No, it's 1965.
Yeah.
That's how young we are. So the country that we know we're living in right now was birthed in 1965. When civil rights movement started,
Yeah.
when that now it started everybody having equal and civil rights, and people need to understand that we're a young country where we live today, and we need to really understand is like no, it's not. It's 1776 or it's always debate when it started. So we are a very young country, so we progressed a lot, but we're not there. And we need to understand that we were birthed in 1965 in the country that we know it.
They actually started paying attention to the writing in the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, where where they put some truth to that, and they started practicing what they preach, right?
Yeah,
practicing all that. You got it. It's the most important document in the whole country, but you're not applying it, to the citizens. It's
everyone created equal.
Women and the minorities.
Well, I mean, and we think about when the document was written, right? And you think of the mindset and the historical time frame, and when they talk about everyone being created equal and citizens, the definition of that was white men,
right?
Yep.
And that is not what this country is.
It was never this.
Especially when they were actually oppressed by another country.
Yeah.
So they should have a feeling or some empathy for the new country, the new citizens, and saying, look, we already went through that. We don't want our current citizenry, if I'm saying that right, to go through what we went through across the pond. So
didn't the civil rights movement start with the women movement?
Women played a critical role in the civil rights movement, and they always do in organizing for social change. Women often do.
Yeah, because Rosa Parks, she kind of set off a lot of that civil rights movement with the bus in 1955, I think.
Yeah,
and even before that was voting rights.
Suffrage.
So we forget about that. So was it? Usually on point with history, but let's just say that took about 20 to 30 years where they were fighting, and then finally things started gradually pushing towards the civil rights, and then things were getting better. But just for a woman to vote, it took a while.
Yeah,
it's crazy how slow things can go sometimes when you look back at it, right?
But it's really not. It's slow, but it's literally one generation, like one or two generations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it hasn't been that long.
It hasn't, and in that time that there's been progress, there's also we've regressed in some ways, right? I mean, and you talking about voting, talk about gerrymandering and talking about taking away the voting rights protection that existed, and now I forget which congressperson just put it back on the table to because of the voter suppression that's happening.
Mhm.
And that's,
There's different types of
2
voter
steps
suppression.
forward, 3
Yeah.
steps back.
Yeah.
Who's better back?
Is can I ask you something? Carmen, is when I ran and being a city official, right, a city employee, I was filtered throughout that campaign. How did you feel when you were running? Did you have that filter where you wanted to say something but you couldn't because your employee or your collective bargaining may have told you couldn't say this, whether you were on the job or off the job? So was you filtered by what you really wanted to talk about, whether it could be issues within the school district or something like that?
So I never felt like a collective bargaining unit or anybody was doing that
Yeah.
with that. I myself, as I grow older, realize that I have to be thoughtful about how I speak so that I don't alienate people.
Yeah.
That's important. I think about growing up around a Portuguese table where we're all like cutting each other off and just saying exactly what we're thinking, and it's nobody gets offended. We all love each other, and 20 minutes later, everything's fine.
Yeah.
That is not the existence out in the world. And so anytime I'm out, I do that to myself.
All right. Good.
So just because you brought that up, you did run for Ward 3 City Council?
I did. Yep.
Was it one time that you did that?
I ran in the special election, and I actually pulled papers for at-large this last election in November, and then I missed the deadline. I put out an announcement, but I missed the deadline to remove my name from the preliminary, and actually made it onto the general, but the next day. It just, unfortunately, it was like the perfect series of events where it wasn't the right time. But I still feel like I'm serving my city and where I live.
Yeah,
so
That's good.
That's awesome.
yeah.
So y'all big on women empowerment, right?
I am.
Okay. So what is your, I want to say feeling, your stance when, say, the word roles that goes, we have our roles. How do you feel about that term?
Like gender roles?
You could say just roles in general, because usually gender roles, yeah, you could say that, but I feel like when you're in a household, we all have our roles. And then I'm not saying is like, women got to do cooking, cleaning. I'm not definitely not saying that, but we have roles. But when you say that to a woman, it goes, oh, there's everyone have roles in the household. I think women get offense to that word.
I don't think roles, just, you have a role at work. I have a role in organizations that I volunteer in. I mean, I foster a dog through Lighthouse Animal Shelter. I know my role there, right?
Like definitely,
like roles are important. I think if you're talking about gender roles and, typically this is what you do, I think it's okay to ask the question why. I was really young. My brother is 7 years older and we grew up in a multi-generational household, and I slept either on the couch or on a fold-out cot, and because I was the youngest. And I remember being like, I absolutely will not make my brother's bed. Why? Oh, because he's a man. I was like, I don't care. I mean, and I didn't get my ass beat because I don't want anybody to think I was abused, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They were like, what do you mean? You have to do this. You're a girl. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And, from a very young age, it's why. Why are we? Who says that women do this and men do this? Those are social constructs, and I think we have to ask questions and be okay with doing things differently. I have a good friend who's a school leader, and her husband is a stay-at-home father, and for a very long time people questioned that, like, he's educated, and it just was so, people were shocked, but nobody bats an eye when it's the other way around. And it's just interesting to notice that and go, why do we exist like this?
And that's like, at the end of towards the end of the show, we're going to talk about the art of communication. And I want to speak on that. I think why is the best question you can answer in anything. If it's in a relationship, if it's in friendship, if it's at work, why? Once you understand, like I'm reading this book called Know Your Why. And
Simon Sinek. Is that?
yes, I'm saying it exactly the exact book. And it's understand the why. Me, I'm a why person. I have to know why I'm doing something. So if I don't know the why, it doesn't give me purpose, and then it doesn't motivate me to do it. And I think that's missing in the art of communication. Nobody cares to understand why, and when you ask why, a lot of people may be offensive towards it, you know. But that's just going to a different. So, anything else, D?
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna take another music break. We're gonna come back with the news. We got a lot of things we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about the border crisis. We're gonna talk about Alabama's ruling: is embryos really children? We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the Super Tuesday Republican primaries coming up. We're gonna discuss Donald Trump and Nikki Haley are the Republican candidates. What do you think? Among other things. And like I said, we're going to talk about towards the end of the show is the art of communication. Is it lost? Is I don't know. I'm starting to feel like it is, but we will see. We're going to take a music break. And Charlie, because I always go to Charlie because me and Charlie, we got our R&B love for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We love
I get no
R&B
choice with music over
right?
here.
And do you know that the lead singer, one of the singers from Boyz II Men, he has a group that's made up of his sons?
I did, and oh man, I just read about it. But great group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely up and coming, and will hit the airwaves.
Yeah, soon.
And they're definitely going to be on every radio station.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, I believe.
Yeah. So this song, I think they redid the father's song with his group Boys to Men. Please Don't Go. This is their name is Wayne Moore, which is similar to their father's name, Wine Moore. Well, I don't know how you say it, but Wanye. Yeah. So Wayne Moore. Please Don't Go. We will be right back. This is the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. Download the app or log on to WMB1.com to listen to the music that I'm about to play right now. We'll be right back after this. Yes, we are back. We are back. Y'all listen to the Frequency Live on WNB1 Radio. That was me, B. Carter. Please don't go. Now, Wayne Moore, sons of Wanye from Boys to Men. Please don't go. They sound good. They do. I love music like that. I'm an old soul. Well, I don't know. Maybe because I'm old. I don't know. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Not
young.
yet?
Still
All
young.
right.
And Edmund's age.
I'm here with my co-host Charlie Perry and Dag Demers and Carmen Amaral as our guest host. I'm like in a chill mood right now.
You seem it.
Yeah, I'm in a chill mood. So we're gonna get into this. Hold on, we got to start it off right. The news with Derek Demers.
So, yes, I appreciate the introduction. So excuse me. We never have to look far for any type of trending news, going on. But I want to have a discussion about the border crisis. Okay, I think it was like 10 days ago. A 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia got killed by an illegal immigrant from Venezuela. He arrived, I believe, in 2022. They caught him, let him go. And then he was arrested in New York in 2023. He was endangering a child under 17 back on the streets, and then he committed murder to one of our citizens. So that's just one case that I felt like drew attention, to this big, debate right in front of the election. But there's many more of these scenarios that happen. So, when I look at the border crisis, I identify like safety, the expense, and the resources that we got to provide for it, and the unfortunate politics behind it, which we can talk about. But what do you guys feel about this these illegals coming in, committing crimes, or coming in, being let back on the streets and committing crimes?
It's real upsetting, and that's only one story.
One story.
And it's in most cities and towns. There's a story similar to that. So there's a lot of them that just don't come out, But it's a frequent thing, and I just think when it comes to crimes like that, it's real important that judges and attorneys pay attention to it. But with our country, you're innocent till proven guilty. So they always got to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. And in cases like this, it hurts us. It really does. I think if you committed these offenses in other countries, you wouldn't be so freely let go.
Right.
So it's just hard. I'm a victim type person. I think I could never be a defense attorney. I would always be a prosecutor because I always feel for a victim. Always. It's just something that's in me, but sad story and real tragic when I first heard about it.
I think, that's a tragedy. And unfortunately, we live in a society where those tragedies happen all the time. Way more frequently than we hear about on the news. However, I also think about a justice system that needs to be improved overall. So I'd be curious to look at statistics about these types of crimes, et cetera, that happen. Folks that are citizens versus folks that are not, whether they're documented or undocumented. I think it's kind of a natural reaction to be like alarmed and say, oh my goodness, look, and kind of draw that straight line between somebody coming in undocumented and committing a crime versus stepping back and looking at the numbers and going, okay, does this happen more with folks who come in from other countries? Like I said, documented or not, it doesn't negate the tragedy. I just don't know that I necessarily equate the two. And of course, this was awful.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Like I mean, murder, stuff like that happens all the time in our society. legal citizens happens all the time. I think take it to another level when people find out that they're illegal, especially when there's so many people crossing the border, and that the border is a crisis that most people acknowledge.
Yeah.
So I think it raises a level, I think.
Absolutely. And I think when we talk about border crisis and we talk about migrants, and this is in all parts of the country, not just the South. It's happening everywhere. It's Governor Healy just said that it was a crisis here as well, and it is.
Yes.
It's a strain on resources. I mean, I think we have to look at larger policy. Why do we live in one of the richest countries in the world, and we have the greatest number of people who are suffering? And I mean, including our citizens. You have kids who go to school and they are hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about kids acting out, etc. They're going to school because there's food and there's heat and they can go to the bathroom and they're safe. Why is that happening here? Why do people have a master's degree and still rely on the gig economy for supplemental income so they can be in their 30s to rent an apartment with roommates? And I'm not hating on having roommates. I'm really not. But I'm just saying we have to look at structurally where we are and what brings us here.
Yeah. Well, last week we had Marcus Hauptman on the show, and I said we were talking about what happened in Brockton High School. Like, to me, and I mentioned this last week, whenever there's an issue in our society, there's multiple reasons how we can fix it, multiple problems, but there's multiple ways that we could fix it. Like you said, because it is the justice system, it's keeping people in jail, or it's not letting them out after. So there's so many things that we can work on, but it's so difficult. How do you work on a million things at once to try to be better?
In my opinion, I think the main problem is money. Money. I really feel like money is the root of all evil. Everything is just based around money. And you were saying like people, we live in the richest country, and you have children that go into school because they want to have heat, they want to have food. Why is that? Where's the money? Somebody has it, but nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about, because the people who have the money are not using it for a good moral point of view. You know what I'm saying? Because we, as a country, we look at those people with money and we put them as gods, but they're the ones that's hurting us.
Just think of right. You talk about our country being rich, right? The state of California is richer than the United Kingdom. So that's just one state.
Yeah.
One state, if they needed to be self-sufficient, they would financially be able to provide better than the United Kingdom. And it's so think about all the other different states, and financially what they're capable of doing. So it's just mind-boggling that there's millions of homeless people in LA, right? That's just Los Angeles.
But it's almost like they don't want to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, we've already given over $166 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, we could be feeding everybody in our country. We could be no homeless people in our country. Everyone's got a full stomach, but we don't do that. Why?
And I don't know if you've seen. I just had someone to get back on the border. I just had someone that worked for the Border Patrol, and there's a lot of different things going on there within the organization itself, and people getting burnt out. There's a criminal element within it that needs to be fixed, and so if they're having all those different things go on, how are they going to protect the borders, and become better for us as a country, to filter out the good, bad, and the ugly coming across,
What I don't like either is like when you got people coming through the border and they're like, oh yeah, there's bad people on the border. There's a lot of bad people here.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And you don't.
Correct.
I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. I wasn't saying that.
No, I know. Yeah.
I didn't want that to come out because like that, because let's just say I have abundance of friends that were that are still that are here and they're from the country of Mexico, or Central America.
But that's what I'm saying. Is
Costa
like when
Rica,
they want to
you know.
demonize the people that come in this country. There's a lot of bad people here. Just because they're not from this country doesn't make the bad people here better than the bad people from Mexico. It's like there's a lot of bad people here are destroying our country within. So, like I went abroad recently, and I had a conversations with a lot of people in the country, and I had one interview conversation that struck me. It was like um she was talking about her parents are here, and she goes, they came illegally. I'm like, so why'd you go with them? She's like, because I don't want to go illegally. I want to go legally.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's dangerous. She was like, that's dangerous to do that, because I don't want to do that. So it's to a point where it's like your parents were that desperate, knowing how dangerous it was, and this person has an education, and she goes, but they were that desperate that they took that leap of faith to get there.
Mhm.
To risk their lives. And I think as much as there's bad people going, there's also good people going. And where we don't look at ourselves, we think because we're Americans, we're so good. There's a lot of bad Americans here,
Mm-hmm.
and that we need
Correct.
to take care of also. So I mean, it's I don't like how they just demonize because they're people. Now, is it a problem? Yes, it's getting too crazy. Where
Yeah,
to a
I mean,
point
we
where
can't afford to keep it going. Like our resources,
no, we
our,
can.
our cities.
We can, but we
Okay.
don't want to spend the money on us.
Yeah, like let's run the numbers.
We
I
can.
wanna have a thought experiment
Yeah.
where we get the information and we run the numbers. We
Mhm.
look at numbers that are spent on all different resources. We look
Mhm.
at the military, for example. And I'm not saying let's not have a military, but the military spends a whole lot of money and some of it's wasted. Like, what programs are we funding? A society what a society values based on what it puts its money behind, and an organization.
Mhm.
So not just society, but in an organization. So I'm curious, and I don't like to make like broad statements without having the data to support what I'm saying, but I am very interested, if we looked at numbers, what it would look like if we took some of those funds that are being wasted essentially because
Mhm.
there's not a fiduciary responsibility, and we put it into things that support and uplift our society, our community, the people here. Who can we support? Citizens and folks coming in from other countries.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I don't know how we get those numbers. Like I said, we gave 166 billion to Ukraine. Like our police is underfunded. Our school teachers bring their own supplies.
Mm-hmm.
We have homeless people in the city, just here, but it's all over.
Yeah.
Right. Our kids go to school hungry. So where does that money come from? Because no one has a budget. No one has a budget to increase that stuff. They got to get it from somewhere else, but it's like it's not there. So I don't know how that changes.
Yeah, even our governor was turned down. She was making a request for federal money to help out with the homeless, and she was denied.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when you kind of look at it, why?
Yeah. So if there's all this money that we're talking about, and I'm not disagreeing, like where's it going to come from, and where do we get it from?
Corporations.
Right. Well,
But you keep on electing a president that's going to give these corporations tax cuts for them to make money and not hold them accountable. That's the problem. But we all love people with money. You think that they're smart. They're the biggest hustlers. They're playing y'all.
yeah, but it's all
Right
the
in front of
politicians.
It's not
They
politics. Who
give
runs the politicians?
well above them.
Who?
The what's the word I'm looking for?
Well,
Like the elites.
Yeah.
The oligarchs.
Yeah, everyone else.
and who are they?
Berto Carter, Edmund Burke.
The people with the money.
Yes.
We blame politicians, but politicians are run who has the biggest influence. And who's going to have the biggest influence? The person with the money.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? If we take the money element out of politics, watch how more moral decisions are made. But they're not going to make moral decisions. They're going to make money decisions.
I mean, money.
And that's why we're looking at politicians. No, and we as humans, we're flawed. Like, again, I said this before. If you made $1 million, you're gonna be satisfied $1 million.
Nope.
Exactly. You're not.
I am not.
That's why you need a little bit of socialism, because we are human beings. We are influenced by the seven deadly sins. So greed, lust, all that stuff. We're flawed, but that's okay. That's why we need rules. But nobody wants rules if it's gonna affect their money. Because now I got a million, I want 2 million. And you know something? I'm talking shit, but I would feel the same way. If I had $1 million, I want 2 million. I want 3 million. The next thing you know, I got 52 billion. That's not enough. No, I want 53 billion. That's the point. Our capitalist system is killing us. It's killing our kids. It's killing the border. Like, why can't we pass a border policy?
Who's the tech giant who NPR just broke this story? He's been buying up like this insane amount of land in Hawaii, and he's like a San Francisco tech guy. His company is the largest of, I wish I remembered. It's like HR software. It's, I think it's one of the largest in the world, and his company he hasn't paid taxes in 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and legally, he legally has not paid taxes in 6 years because of policy. And I do think, you need to have incentives to breed innovation. I am no fool.
Yeah.
I don't think capitalism the way we have it now is working.
No.
And I know folks who are in socialist countries, and it has its flaws as well. But that doesn't mean we can't continue to work towards something that does help.
Yeah,
right.
It's not A or B. It's gonna be like an adjustment. You got to find the right
multiple
formula.
things that you got to work.
Yeah, it's find the right formula.
But how do we fix this immigration problem? This migrant problem.
Well, just by passing something, whether you're for or against it, but just pass something so something gets going, and then you make adjustments, you make amendments.
Yeah,
whether it's
but now
this year or next year, but you have to do something other than this greatest fear of the government shutdown and nothing.
This playing politics. There was the last bill that, for the first time in I don't know how long, there was bipartisan agreement on some policy around the border, and because of the upcoming election and it being an election topic, it was squashed by the extreme right. And what are we doing now? We're not making decisions because of the people, and that's got to change.
Yeah, so that's I have politics written down because there is politics that play a role in this, which is unfortunate because it's people's lives at stake. People, but if Biden really wanted to, he could close the border right now. I know he put the bill in front, but the bill is tied to more money going to Ukraine. It's, they still can allow like 5,000 people coming in per day or whatever. So I think the bill is a little bit flawed. The Republicans don't want to let go because it's more money going to Ukraine. Why can't he just reverse?
But we don't. But do you understand why we're going to Ukraine though?
Yeah, I know that's needed. I'm not saying we need to shut that pipeline.
That's what I'm saying. So people are using that Ukraine argument, like, yo, you don't want he's trying to build back the Soviet Union.
Yeah, okay.
You don't want that.
But why does Ukraine have to be in the conversation with the border?
Because the politics are putting it in the border. You're putting it in the same conversation.
Yeah, because
they're weaponizing it.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with it. The president got to deal with everything at once. It's not like I'm gonna deal with this. No, he has to deal. It's like for the first hour, I got to deal with the border. The second hour, I got to deal with Ukraine. The second hour, I got to deal with school. The third, it's like people didn't even understand what the president got to do. It's not just one thing, because that's what y'all focus on. It's to a point where I got to focus on Ukraine, because if this guy gets Ukraine, he's not stopping there. He's going further, and he wants the whole Soviet Union to a power to take over us and take over all our allies and everything like that, because it starts there.
And then we'll be at war.
And when we'll be at war, do you want to go at war?
Listen, I understand that. What I'm saying is he could stop the border if he wanted to. Like on day one of his administration, he stopped drilling. Right, he reversed everything, did an executive power. He could do that right now. Not.
But say you want him to be a overseer communist, whereas he's trying to
like that.
He's trying to be a democratic. All right, I'm trying to set a policy, bring it, and they're doing it because now they're gonna politicize it. So to get their man in instead of, I remember in the Reagan era, you had Reagan was a Republican, but the Congress and everything was Democratic. They got policies done.
Yeah.
They worked together. But now you're weaponizing stuff.
I
You know
think
what
the
I'm
last
saying?
time they had a bipartisan was Clinton in 1995.
Yeah.
I think they worked.
And look how the
together.
economy was. Look how the
Yes,
country was.
I voted for Clinton twice.
Yeah.
I loved it.
That's what it comes down to. So now you don't do that, and look how the country is. Is it Biden, or is it these Republican congressmen is trying to politicize things so they can take, because they're running for power, not for the
Yeah,
people?
listen, I
know what
get
I'm
your
saying?
point, but I also see it like a little bit the other way too, because
Okay.
Biden, it could be politicizing a little bit by saying, "Oh, Trump's not letting this happen," instead of just shutting it down.
He's not.
I mean, let's be clear. Biden, this is a presidential election in what month are we in? March? 8 months. Like everything's politics right now.
Yeah.
But one of the fundamentals of this country is other people, right? Like the other people come into this country. So I think, completely shutting down a border is very extreme. They're not doing a great job making progress. Absolutely. But I don't, I think one of the reasons our presidents, that this is the country that we live in. This is part of why people come here. That's why my family immigrated here. That's why I'm sure so many others did as well. People are still coming here. It's not one person, a rule of law, and their hand coming down and saying it will be like this. And there's value to that. This is a giant crisis. You're absolutely right, but I don't think completely shutting down a border is the solution, no matter who's in that office.
I mean, maybe you're right. I do feel because it is such a giant crisis, you got to take a giant measure to stop it. But I have, we talked about immigration before, like early on. Where is the conversation to make legal immigration better? The United States brings in 1 million legal immigrants a year. Like, where's the conversation to make that 5 million or 4 million? Like, why can't they either hire more people to, background check, provide jobs?
That's the
provide,
conversation.
right? Where's that conversation?
That's the conversation.
So you know what? Honestly, are those conversations being had? They might be. I don't know.
Think they are.
Well, we only know and
what they tell us,
what the media is telling us. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there are filters of the information. Like, who's going to get ratings and clicks,
100%,
etc.
100%.
Are those conversations being had? People love the conflict right now. It's like watching reality TV, and it's sad because it's our reality. But you were talking about bipartisan earlier and how people got things done. Justice Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they disagreed. They wrote dissents for each other's rulings.
No question.
Their entire partnership while they were on the Supreme Court, but they had a standing date where they would go to the opera and they would go to dinner because on a personal level they worked together
and they respected each other.
Yes, and that's what we need to do, and that's why you need lots of voices at the table. So are those conversations being had and we just don't know? Maybe
we're not, because we're not creating policy. I don't think that everybody wants to say that, all right, shut the border. We need to create policy because our country's full of immigrants. Nobody's American here. So to say
the indigenous are
the indigenous, yes. If you really want to, you're absolutely right. And like, you don't want to go against how your country was built in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So you have to. Because once you shut down the border, all this talk of like how America is, that's opened up a Pandora's box, So like when I vote democracy. Like for women, when I don't know, I was going to ask you this question about.
It's not too late.
Okay. When you have certain states take away women's reproductive rights,
it's a problem.
I don't see when it's already starting to a point where the government's changing and telling you what you can do. And it's the Republicans. And Republicans supposed to be the party where we don't want big government. Sounds like big government to me, because you're telling me what I should do and when I should do it and how I should do it. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I always vote democracy, regardless of Republican or Democrat. And it's like you said, we're going backwards. Where if they said, all right, shut down the border, we're going backwards again. It's just another way of becoming a less democratic country, and that's what makes us so powerful is because we are a democratic country and we're a country full of immigrants. That is our power. Don't take that away.
I completely agree, but again, because it's so severe, I'm
Yeah.
all for immigrants coming to our country.
Yeah.
We're found that's how we are.
It's the system. Like
We need-
y'all right.
We need to
It's
fix
out
the
of
system.
it does. It's out of control. I don't like the way it's going on. People coming and kids can't go to school. It's
Right,
getting
so-
crazy. I don't agree with
So
that either.
that's
I
my
don't.
thing is like, when it comes to like me and my family,
Yeah.
like, maybe it's selfish of me, but like I want to feed my kids before I, feed strangers outside. So it's the same thing with our country. Like why is we have people starving? Why do we have people homeless when we're worrying about other people coming into our country? So I'd love to help them. We can't help the whole world though.
You're right, but I don't feel like it's that black and white. But maybe it needs to be that black and white for it to be fixed. I don't know.
And I don't have the answers. I just know that I feel it's a super
I just
problem.
feel like we have a lot of we go in this country. We have a lot of people who are multi-billionaires. Why?
Spend billions of dollars, go to space for 4 minutes.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Like really
Yeah.
think and we're at that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We have baseball players making $70 million a year, and they don't even play every game
because we keep
Why?
going to the game. We
Because-
keep buying the shit.
Hey, that's where the problem
That
is.
the problem.
So when you say we
It's
don't have
our
the money,
fault.
yeah,
It's our
it
fault.
is.
It's
We
our
have the
fault.
money, but we just love our sports.
Yeah.
We love our celebrities. We love the billionaires. Oh, they're the smartest people in the world. They're the hustlers. They are hustlers. Ain't no difference between a corporate hustler and a street hustler. It's the same mindset. It's the same way. If you really look at it, go watch like BMF. Go watch BMF. Go watch the Power series. He goes, what they do in the streets is what they do in corporations. This corporation is legal, and we gotta stop idolizing these people with money because they have money, because they're the ones is pushing us down. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't blame the politicians because the politicians is being run by the people with the money. Take away the money, you see who's moral and who's not. That's
I mean,
That's
I'm
my-
not
I'm
saying
off the
that's
soapbox.
not wrong, but they could make a better stand.
the
The
politicians.
If you're in charge, you can,
They're humans. What politician leaves that office and they're multimillionaires? Why?
Well, and right, they also want to get reelected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we could have term limits for every single position.
There's their system. changing
Right.
the
I'm for that.
Every office have term limits. I think that's important. That's how you're going to see people understand that it's their job. You're going to see different faces. You're going to see different ages, genders, etc. People in office, different voices representing everybody. That's incredibly important. And change is slow. Like we talked about how it feels glacial sometimes. And you're talking about the distractions of the millionaires. You're absolutely
Mhm.
right. Social media, what we're distracted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram all the time, like, oh, look at this stupid meme.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, paying attention to whatever crisis that the world is on fire. But in Massachusetts, for example, one of the things that's happening now is in 8th grade and in high school, every single student has to complete a civics project, which they themselves have to do. And it might be something local, like understand the process of organizing and going through the process to make a change, like in a school, go in front of the school committee. It could be contacting state reps, local politicians. And this is in its infancy. And in 10 years, it may be something that, is a little more fleshed out, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And that is getting kids when they're younger, reaching out to local elected officials and connecting with them and them getting back to them and making sure that they feel like they have a voice and understanding that if they didn't like the outcome, it's okay to be mad about that. So as soon as you're 18, you vote or you run for office.
Mhm.
And that is one tiny way in which a society can make change, because it's generational. Look at all the changes that we've seen in terms of racial justice, gender justice. I mean, you look at climate recycling, EVs, like that's generational. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, those little seeds were planted. Somebody read a book. It was that generation, like, oh, these crazy kids. And now they're the ones in charge and they have a voice. And it's not going to happen tomorrow, but I have faith in young people. That's, but I don't know what the solution is right now. And it isn't, you were talking earlier about it being not, a multi-pronged approach. It has to be.
Mhm.
So we need to start making small changes everywhere.
I agree.
Yeah,
Bro, this conversation is going to come up again.
yeah, we can go.
in the
We
next,
can keep it moving.
9 months.
What you got next? Go ahead.
Well, we're going to talk about with Carmen on the show.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Alabama embryo situation.
Yeah, it's a sad time for women.
Yeah.
It's a sad time.
So it's just to set the conversation up. Alabama ruled that, correct me if I'm wrong, frozen embryos are children.
So it was essentially personhood to embryos, because
Personhood, what does that mean?
Personhood, an embryo, which is just a cluster of cells.
Okay.
It's why it survives when it's frozen, but a human does not, right?
Yeah.
It ruled it a person. So there was an accident that happened in a lab, and the way these embryos are frozen is they're kept at sub-zero temperatures, sometimes in nitrogen, etc. And if you come into contact with those chemicals that keep things that cold, it will absolutely burn your flesh. And somebody who was handling them, that happened, and so a few of the I think it was 3 embryos, were destroyed. And of course, the folks whose embryos that belong to, because you have to harvest the eggs, go through the fertilization process, pay all this money to have them stored. It is not a cheap process. It is extremely hard on a woman's body to harvest eggs. They were upset. We can all understand that, I think. And they brought it to court, and the judge ruled that this person was responsible for terminating lives, and embryos are not alive.
I agree. It's I got a problem with people that are not that they're not scientists, medical, or any kind of, from the medical industry, making decisions based on cells when they have no clue of it. They may have someone that's in that field research and get some research so they can kind of do some fact finding and make a determination. It's so upsetting that someone's making decisions like that. And I mean, you kind of pinpoint and kind of, because I didn't know anything about this really, as old as I am. I'm second oldest here. It's just something that I'm not, I just wasn't interested in it. Maybe because I'm a man, right?
Right. And
but if I had problems, say my family wanted to, start a family, and I had to go that route, it would be real important to me. And so many decisions being made by people that are not in the field that we're talking about.
And you spoke about folks having somebody do some research, and you can't be an expert in everything. So you have teams that do research and get you the information. You have to do that. However, that argument, the way it's written, it invokes religious doctrine throughout it. And that's not how we do things in the United States,
good
right?
Point.
And
good point.
And so if we're talking about legality, we have to consider that. But you also want to talk about how IVF, you have young women who are diagnosed with different kinds of cancers, who undergo treatments. This is their way to have an opportunity to have a family, is to harvest eggs and store them so that someday either they can implant or find a surrogate.
Exactly.
And you have the same side that's arguing that women aren't having babies, and we're trying to indoctrinate women to not have children and be child free. And what is this movement at the same time is removing a way for putting a barrier to IVF, because what's happening in Alabama now is clinics and doctors are putting a pause because they don't know what's going to happen in terms of liability if they have to destroy any of these embryos, because you might harvest 10 eggs, you might have 6 that were able to be fertilized. Then you do genetic testing. Maybe 3 of those might be viable if you implant. So you have to destroy the others, or there are chromosomal abnormalities that even if you implant, that pregnancy won't go to term, or if the child is born, it might be stillborn or live just a few months. You're not going to do, you have to destroy those embryos. And oftentimes those embryos are studied, and we learn from that and make advances to help reproduction. And really that's taking that all away. And again, it's removing choices from women. And this is, it's a sad time. It's a really, really sad time. And personhood to an embryo, now we're talking earlier and earlier. Where do we define life?
Mm.
So abortion is in state control right now. And if this opens the door for more states to say, okay, well, life happens at conception, or, right after fertilization, that's a zygote. After a few cell divisions, that's an embryo. That's life. If you rule that opens the door for a total ban on abortions.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be another story to this. And
But that's when we talk about how things is like going backwards. Do you feel like, especially in these type of states, is religion is leading the charge in this?
Yes, but there are religions that don't completely oppose abortion under all circumstances, including some factions of Christianity. So you also have this messaging that it's a Christian message, where it really is one specific faction of it. I mean, there other religions will say if a woman's life is in danger, or if it's rape, etc. Now, I think it's a beautiful thing that for several years, we lived in a country where a woman could make that decision for herself, regardless of the reason. Now that's being taken away. And a lot of that, some groups are using religion as, the excuse. But we need to exist where if my religious belief dictates that I will carry a pregnancy, then I get to decide that. That's the beauty of choice, where we are, essentially silencing some other religions who will say, hey, hold up, pump the brakes. In this situation, it might be okay. No, this group of Christianity extreme. And I wish I could remember right now, but
that's what I like. It's rules like this when you talk about how we want to deal with the border. You talk about how they're dealing with, Roe versus Wade and all that stuff. It's all about. It seems like it's form of government control. Like the government's going to tell you what to do, and that's what you do. It's slowly becoming that. It's slowly becoming a communist country, and people are not seeing that, and they're using religion as a weapon. I think a lot of people they are using their religion because nobody wants to go against religion. Everybody has some type of faith, regardless. I don't believe in religion. I believe in God and all that stuff. But I don't believe in religion because I think it's a man-made thing. But that's a different story.
That's another show.
I have faith. Like I have faith. I believe in a higher power. And all that other stuff. But I believe that people use religion as a weapon, and I think that religion started this argument.
I mean, it's something that people believe in. So whether, if a woman has that type of faith behind them, and I agree with you, it's their choice to make one way or another.
I believe in democracy,
Yeah.
and all across the board, and certainly and that's why I always vote on is democracy, choice. That's what makes our country so great.
And think about, okay, so aside from IVF and what's happening in Alabama, you talk about Roe v. Wade, you talk about access to abortions, which, by the way, New Bedford is an abortion desert. There's a local partner who is able to prescribe mifepristone, which about, I forget how many years ago now was the FDA approved for safe medical, safe prescription abortions, not surgical abortions. But women, you talk about living in a society where a woman will be forced to have a child, but we're not going to make sure that they have adequate housing, that they have adequate health care, that there's adequate child care. But yes, by all means, please, everyone must continue to have children under
so,
every
yeah,
circumstance.
I mean,
Like, you're
listen,
talking about this whole system of oppression for women.
I recently, it's not a secret, I told my guys here, like, I recently switched from Catholic Church. I started going to New Life. And one of the reasons why, not, a major reason why to me, I'm a guy, right? But it's like, they're all about birth. They're all about the baby, like in the womb. But once it comes out, it's
Too
like,
bad.
right. So it's like,
Sucks to be poor.
yeah. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, like, completely. We don't worry about after the fact.
That's why when the people say I'm pro life, you can't just be pro. You gotta be pro life
For the life.
outside the
For the
womb.
life.
You got. Are you pro life when it comes to the correction facilities? Are you pro life when it comes to schooling? Are you pro life?
Right.
Like that's BS. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and that's where it's like we got to call these people that's making these decisions out. It's like you ain't pro life.
Right.
You're anti-abortion.
Right.
That's but that don't sound good. You can't sell that.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes, like, just to give you an example, sometimes you might see someone on the street corner or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, like, either you're afraid of him or you're like, look at that, whoever, right? I mean, that could be someone that didn't have an abortion, someone that had, what I mean, like foster homes, whatever, and you dislike that person so bad, but it's like you prayed for people not to have abortion. Does that make sense? So you can't have it both ways.
You can't have it both ways. But all right, let's take a break. We're gonna have 2 more breaks and we'll end the show. So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna get into we have the
Well,
Republican.
we're going to talk about New Bedford.
Yeah, we're gonna
the
talk about the what's it called again? I can't that
The
terminology. Encampment, and we also have the Super Tuesday. We'll come back with those
we
2
hit that
topics,
briefly,
and
sure.
then we'll take a break, and then I want to have a short conversation about communication. Even though we're communicating well today.
We're trying.
All right, so I'm gonna play some country for
Okay.
for my man D.
Here we go.
And this is
I want to have a beer with Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
you're gonna
a
have a
country
beer
song.
with Jesus.
That's a country song.
Is it? Hold on, who sings that song? Because I want to have. Who sings that song? Hold on. Who sings that song? A beer with. Wait a minute.
Something RHETT, I believe.
RHETT.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
Is the name A Beer with Jesus?
I want to have a beer.
Rhett Atkins, is that his name? Rhett Atkins. A beer with Jesus. Hold on. Drink a little. What? No. Hold on. Let me put this song in. Yo, we're so ghetto.
Just play it next time.
Yeah, we'll play it.
We'll play it next time. All right. I see. I'm trying to.
So we're gonna get some Usher on?
No. We're gonna put some Tennessee whiskey, Chris Stapleton. What do you think? Is that good? That's good. I like that song. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. If you listen on Facebook Live, go to the WMB1 Radio app that is on Android and Apple users, and also you could go on WMB1.com and listen there. We'll be right back after this. This is Tennessee whiskey, Chris Stapleton. We'll be right back. Yeah. Tennessee whiskey. I'm a Jack Daniels man myself. We are back. Y'all listen to the Frequency Live on WMB1 Radio. Good conversation so far, guys.
Yeah, that was great. Great
We got
segment.
more for us, Derek. We're staying with the news.
No, so we have
Jack and Coke next podcast.
Yeah. Jack and Coke. Yeah.
We have that New Bedford clip that I showed you midweek.
Yes.
Are you going to play that, or was you going to talk about it?
I was gonna play it. Hold on.
No. You think it's worth it?
Yeah, it's too long.
Yeah, it is kind of long.
So explain the clip.
Well, I was scrolling through Facebook, and New Bedford Live had a, guy at a encampment with homeless people, shelter after shelter, and he was, showing on New Bedford Live, and I think it was like another one near the beginning of Route 18, like near Cogswell Street,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, that's just another one. I think there's others in the city.
Yep.
Again, it's kind of ties into our homeless problem, but what are we gonna do about it? Is there anything we can do?
For years, goes back probably maybe I'll say 5 years. No, a little bit more than that. 6 years, 7 years. There was a good population behind Building 19, old Building 19, along the railroad tracks. And the city would have to go and basically bulldoze everything that's there because it was a lot of debris and personal effects, from couches to chairs to, I mean, everything, clothes. So it's something that's been here, and I would say that the safest spot is at Route 18 in Cogswell. It's open. You can kind of protect yourself a little bit. Being in the woods in some of these areas around here, there's a lot of things that are going on, from coyotes to different things. I just, but it is a problem. It's been around for a while. It's just coming out, and it's coming front and center. And I've seen tents throughout the wooded areas in this area.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like another reminder.
Yeah.
Because you kind of like you travel, drive down the streets, you do your daily stuff, whatever. Sometimes you don't see it, but it was like a reminder when you saw it on video. Like, holy shit, this is right around the corner. So,
and there are more and more people who currently are experiencing homelessness, right? I mean, and the elderly population is also experiencing it at a much higher rate because you have one person dies, that Social Security check, they're not getting it anymore, and a developer comes in, buys up the apartments. I mean, you see this all the time. When I was running and I was talking to the folks over at PACA, I was thinking that some of what they were dealing with, the biggest problem was the opioid crisis. And there'd been a huge shift, people coming in and seeking help because they had no place to live. The elderly people, 2 adults with children, both with jobs, just low income jobs, living out of a car, right? I mean, this is, we have a housing crisis.
So 40% of homeless people have jobs.
It's,
I was shocked when I found out that number.
Right. So
40%.
like, think about our misconceptions. Think about the thoughts that have run through your head. Mine too.
Yeah.
When
I'm thinking
you
drugs.
see some, right, and you're like, and then you go, damn, it's broken. This is broken. It goes back to, what does a society value?
Look at the gentleman in, was it Roxbury? Protesting the.
Oh yeah. I saw that video too.
That went worldwide, and that's here in Massachusetts. But he talked about having a 40-hour job and can't afford it.
So this is what I'm saying. Like when I talk about the migrant situation or the border crisis, it's stories like that it's like, you got a guy working 40 hours a week that can't afford his apartment or his food. Like, what are we doing for them before we help strangers?
Yeah,
I guess. So these two stories tie in together, I feel.
Sure do. And I mean,
and it's not just here. It's not just in Massachusetts. It's all over the country. I went to Florida to visit my parents. Just quick story. To visit my parents right on the water in Florida, and I love to see the sunrise. So I walk down to the pier to see the sunrise, and it's right off the main boulevard, and a line of trees separates the water from like the boulevard, and the trees kind of curl up like this, right? So as I'm walking back, the pier is like 300 feet out. So when I'm walking back, I see all these like little camps.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, here? Like here in Florida?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? So it's everywhere.
It's hanging out near any of the waterways in Florida is very, very dangerous. I lived there for 2 years, and that a lot of the people are putting themselves in danger being near those areas. So it's sad. It's sad that it's happening, and it doesn't matter where.
Right.
Florida is pretty much, and where your folks live is pretty decent area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Sad. The New Bedford. I mean, if we all go out there and talk to the people in these encampments and get the other story or get that story, we're going to be at awe.
Right.
We're going to be at awe what's going on there. And Carmen mentioned about sleeping in cars. I see that all the time. Wonder why a car is so packed from the front seat to the back seat, filled with a lot of personal items and stuff like that. Someone's sleeping in it, and the housing crisis is a problem, but I don't think we're doing enough. And
I remember in the video, the guy says, he gets, I don't want to say he gets Social Security or whatever. I think it was whatever. But he can't afford because the rent keeps on going up and up and up. And I remember having a conversation where when it comes to retirement, where, all right, we're going to retire and we don't know what inflation is going to be like when we retire. So you retire, but the cost of living goes up. Your retirement doesn't go up, even though when you first retire, it's based off what the cost of living is then.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was that man's scenario, but that's not right.
10 cents cost of living raise,
Yeah.
Every few years. I mean, I'm a man that has a pension.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that I could probably live off my pension if I just go ahead, and there's no way I could do it.
Yeah.
And this is a city pension. So, I mean, and that's everywhere. There's a friend of mine that works with me now, and he has a pension too, but we're working side by side every single day, and he don't miss work and I don't miss work. And there's a reason for it. We can't afford to miss work. So, it's tough, and I tell all the young men and women that are going on the police department is put $50 away every week. The pension's not good enough.
Right.
Invest it nationwide, whatever. If Jasmine was here, I say New York Life, stuff like that, So $50 away.
But it shows is like, even if you like, where rent is today, even people that is working can't afford it. So, you have these people who are again assistants or got a pension and they can't afford it. And then where they're going to work. So, and now they're homeless. And like you said, we live in the richest country. And so then what happens? A lot of people result to crime, right? They got to survive. Crime is survival.
Yeah, some of it.
People want to think like you have your horrific crimes where people are killing and things of that nature, but a lot of the crime is built around just surviving, trying to get that little piece to survive the next day. But people don't look at crime in that way.
In the mid 90s, when we had economic stability, we had a much lower crime rate. And historically, you're going to see that. You're going to see that correlation.
Yeah.
If you're, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If your basic needs are being met, then you're not constantly in fight or flight.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And I just think that I'm blaming the people with the money, but it goes to that.
Secretly, I want to be people with the money.
Yeah, I want to be that person too. I want to have that. But at the same time, when is it enough. I'd rather have the problem complaining is like, damn, I can't not make 2 million, but I still got 1 million. And maybe there's a lot more people that have 1 million, and maybe the cost of living not as high because everybody has money. The cost of living goes high when people want to make more money. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, yo. I don't know.
Derek knows $500,000 is a house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not a big one.
Not a big
no.
one.
Not a big one.
You know?
Sad.
That's sad.
Crazy.
Why? But why?
Crazy.
We got to ask why.
I think it's supply and demand. Like we lack housing, so there's homeless people, and people raise the rents because there's not much. Same thing with houses. There's not many houses out there. People can ask for more money.
What does that sound like? It's greed. Yeah. That's what it is. It's greed, and to a point where it's like that's where we got to pay attention. We're worried about. We got to get these politicians. Is like, listen, you got to be a cap on stuff because you guys are being greedy. Like I always use the analogy to where if we go down Union Street, right? Mm-hmm. What if there's no stoplights? You're gonna depend on human beings to make the right decision.
I don't depend on them when there is a stoplight.
That's what I'm saying. So you need stoplights. You need rules. You need to help against basic human behavior. But you're not doing that when it comes to the capitalist system, where it's like, yeah, it's legal. You can do it. You're not doing nothing wrong, but you actually are morally. But nobody cares about their morals when they got more money in their pocket. Yeah. So that's I don't know. I gotta get off the soapbox though.
Yeah. What else? What else you got? What else you got?
So we got Super Tuesday, right? Super Tuesday is coming to Republican primary. We got Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. So what do we think about this? I think side of the ticket.
She's got to keep going. I mean, and even if it looks like she's gonna lose, well, a lot of that campaign money, she's got to find a place to put it, right? Mm-hmm. So why not run, let it go to its bottom line, and it makes it easier for you when you have to you can't keep that money. Carmen didn't keep her money when she ran. I didn't keep my money when I ran. Unless she's trying to run again, then she's got to keep it, and then she's got to keep records of it. With Nikki, she's got to keep running, because I don't think she's done with politics, right? Yes. So why don't you just kind of stay on the stage as far as you can go, keep on pushing your agenda and stay on board. But she needs to stay, and another thing is, everyone, please vote. The numbers are so low when it comes to voting. You need to get up there and vote. And I don't care who you're voting for, but just cast a vote. One of the most devastating things that I received was who voted during my election, right? Or campaign. And the numbers are crazy. I've seen friends like Berto Carter, Edmund Ray, Derek Demers didn't vote. And I was so devastated. I was like pissed off, man. Right? Seen a friend of mine. Yeah, that's your government name. Well, anyways,
I want to know. I think I did vote though.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
Damn, don't make me feel guilty, yo. Because he was close. He could have won if those people voted.
And I seen the craziest thing is I seen a name on there, right? And the radio station's here, and say this was the voting area, poll area. The person I knew was right across the street. And did vote. That's amazing. Now we have early voting. We have all this stuff. Guess what? You might have been busy during the primaries or whatever, election day, but then you had previous days before that, probably 2 weeks, to cast an early vote, and you didn't.
So
let's make election days a holiday.
Yeah.
Let everybody get out to the polls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I agree with that. They shut the schools down, right? So the kids stay home.
If they're polling locations,
yes,
they do.
So
yeah.
I agree with that.
And I think election day should be in the summertime, not in the wintertime or anything like that.
Nah.
Yeah.
Why summertime?
Because people will come out.
So in my special election, it snowed, and there were 10,000 registered voters in Ward 3, over 10,000, and there were 700 people that
Yeah.
went out to the polls, and we're out there holding signs in the snow, and voter turnout is low in New Bedford anyway. But on a crappy winter day in February, not great.
Oh yeah. we had the election commissioner on the show, and he said I forgot the number he said. It was
Yeah, so
low.
I think he said
it was sad.
It was low.
12% for the.
Yeah. If it gets to 15 to 16%,
That's
that's a
good
time,
turnout.
You know, that's crazy. So 100,000 people plus in the city, and the top title of the city probably get 12,000 votes.
Yeah. So can I give my thought on?
Yeah.
I think that Haley will run again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she can keep her money for she's probably going to run for president again or whatever. So I think she should keep her money. If she doesn't fare well at all, I think she should drop out. So like that party can like unify. I feel like going forward for them, it's the best thing that she drops out, unify. She saves her money for next.
So you think that?
But
I don't think they're gonna go ahead.
But so there needs to be unification, full stop. But the unifying that's happening is extremist. It's the extremes that are really dampening the voices of folks who are more moderate. So if she drops out, then that's, I fear that people will throw their hands up in the air and be like, well, I'm not going to vote.
Yeah.
And then who's going to go to the polls?
So I'm not disagreeing with you, but the thing is, if she's not, if there's not a path for her, like to me, like just wasting your time and your money.
But if she gets out, then her name's not on the ballot, right?
Right. So it's split.
So now you have that choice.
Oh, well,
you split.
But if there's not a path for her to be the Republican nominee, so what is she doing? Like, you know what I mean? That's my thought. But I get what you're saying, because like even in the city, when it's 12%, I think people get to the point like politicians, they're gonna do whatever they want anyway, so they stay home even when they're right across the street.
Yeah.
Sadly, because I vote all the time. It's my right. I do it. But I think people feel that way.
It was not. I mean, thanks to the city and the New Bedford Public Schools, they came right into the auditorium when him and I were at the high school. Right during school, we went and we registered for the first time to vote.
Yeah.
I wish that would happen more often. Yeah.
And young people can pre-register. You can register before you're 18, so that when you're 18, you are registered. And we really needs to be done across the board.
Yeah. And if they had podcasts on Frequency L.I.V.E. to talk about stuff like that.
Yeah. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Good conversations.
I think she should stay in. I think she should stay in. I actually like her. I would vote for her.
30 years ago, that would have been, if the thought of a woman president 30 years ago didn't make people want to pass out, she would have been the ideal candidate for the Republicans of 30 years ago.
Yeah. I think you need to get back to that. I think the Republican Party has got too extreme. And I think that maybe we as a society may need a woman president. Maybe that type of influence, that type of I want to use these words with you.
Roll.
Use the right word. I'm paying attention.
I think that we made a big mistake in this country not voting for Hillary Clinton, in my opinion.
Who didn't vote for Hillary?
I voted for Hillary. I voted for Hillary.
I didn't vote for Hillary.
Yeah. You didn't vote for Hillary? What was your reason for not voting Hillary?
The suit pants.
I think the show's almost over. I might not have time.
Well,
all right.
I mean, look at the situation. I'm not voting for Biden based on the war that's going overseas with Gaza and everything.
You're not voting for Biden?
No, that's the one thing that hurts me and bothers me. Like really deeply, it bothers me that the people that getting slaughtered out there, and
the Israel and Gaza thing?
Yeah, because it really means a lot to me. Only as the humanity side of it, it just bothers me. I see the pictures, the images, it just totally, and for him to be in support about it, it just
I'm trying to get educated on that, and I think that like more and more I look into it is like like there's a good segue to the end of the show. When you communicate, you always ask why, right? You want to ask why. You want to know why. For an example, um 9/11, right? When 9/11 happened, we all want like, yo, we want to get those people that did it. What going to do? Nobody asks, why would they do that? Why would they risk their lives to and not risk their lives, give their lives to attack us like that? Nobody asks why.
Their religion.
No. It's like, what were we doing to them to feel like they would attack us? I'm not saying it's right because it's too extreme. You got to ask why. So now, when it comes to this Israel thing and the Gaza thing, horrific, definitely. Like I don't agree with whatsoever. So, but if we got to find a solution. So how do we find a solution? We ask that one question: why? Why did they attack Israel? What did Israel do to them that they had to go to that measure, that extreme, that strategic to kill Israel's? What was Israel doing to them? It's the same thing when we come to the civil rights movement. She's like, why why did the Black Panther come to fruition? Why did Martin Luther King come to fruition? Why all this was needed? Because what they were doing to them. You understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't make it right. It's not right, but to find a solution, we gotta understand why. And I think that's what your understanding is like. You don't like what Israel was doing to
Palestine. Yeah.
Palestine, not Hamas,
Yeah.
because Hamas was built through the Palestine people.
Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Terrorists
Yes,
from Iran
of
Right.
Palestine
Yes.
people.
So we want to support the innocent Palestine.
Yes,
people.
we want ports to yes.
We want to take down Hamas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but what do we do so organizations like Hamas doesn't build? You know what I'm saying? And
there's government agencies and governments period after kind of it's hard to infiltrate something like that, right?
Yeah.
And get rid of them. And so Israel is just saying, look, we're just going to wipe them out, and a lot of innocent people are getting killed based on it, right? I definitely believe in Hamas has to go. I mean, it is definitely. It's just that the innocent people that are getting
but how do you
slaughtered.
do it without killing innocent Palestine people?
So, I mean, you were talking about communication, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's learning more.
Yeah.
And I think it's also critical. And what I'm trying to do, because I don't understand it, it's
Me either.
complicated. And what I'm saying is complicated is the relationship of the United States and Israel. And I know that there's a history and political reasons and economic reasons for the support, and it's not anti-Semitic. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a. I'm not saying that I don't support folks of Jewish descent. That's
Yeah.
not it at all.
Mm-mm.
But it's understanding the history and how
Mhm.
interwoven this is, and
Yeah,
why the
yeah.
United States insists. And now there's a little bit more backpedaling by the Biden
Mhm.
administration, but
Mhm.
there, talks of a two-party state, but why are we supporting this total annihilation
Mhm.
of innocent people, cutting
Yeah.
off food and
Mhm.
water, and it's and I don't think that there's a solution that spares innocent lives,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I
Y'all in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah,
So because you can't expect Israel to not respond to what Hamas did, but when Hamas is hiding amongst innocent
Right.
Palestinian
That's the
people,
problem.
yeah.
like that's tough, man.
They're not
So
fighting like a.
so you're asking not the Israel to respond. So is that so? What that's Hamas strategy? I'm gonna attack you and hide behind innocent people. That's like what? How do you?
Yeah.
And the
What's
other,
the solution to
yeah,
that?
and I mean, you mentioned Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
So if we're not sending money to or support to Israel or supporting what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you can send it to Ukraine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that more important? There's a point you mentioned about Putin taking over and creating Soviet Union type, all over again.
Yeah.
I just think that billions and billions of dollars are being supported and sent over to Israel. I don't know what the money is, but the United States is supporting that war, that act of genocide. And I just think that it needs, Biden needs to refocus, and I don't think he's getting pressured. He's going to get pressured to do something soon. Is it going to be the right decision? I don't know. But I just think that I'm only doing this, and my choice is, now I have a choice other than Biden. Who's going to be my choice?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Nikki Haley? Definitely won't be Trump. So where am I going to go? I have Cornel West, very smart, intelligent man. Is that going to be my choice? Where do I go?
Yeah.
I don't want other people to make my choice. And if she drops out, I'm going to have a very small amount of people to choose,
Yeah.
And so.
All right. So it's that time of the show.
Is this the end? I gotta know. I gotta know. I gotta know. Is this the end?
Yes, it's the end of the Frequency Live on WNB1 Radio.
Silky and Carter.
I want to thank our special guest host, Carmen Amaral, coming on. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, like a different perspective. Educating me on some terminology to use when I speak about women. I'm trying to be careful about that because I do value them.
And what are you gonna watch? What documentary?
The Miss. How does it say?
You had one thing to remember.
I know, I forgot. What's it called?
The Mask You Live In.
The Mask You Live. The Mask.
Yeah,
I remember. I'm definitely gonna watch that. The Mask You Live.
I'm an Audible type book, that's
Yeah,
what
I like
get
Audible
because
too.
I listen while I'm driving, so
Yeah.
or sitting around, but no, I'm going to check that out too.
Yeah, Mask You Live In. The Mask You Live In. D, what's your final thoughts?
I thought it was a great show. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming in for short notice. I love these conversations. It's always good to have a different perspective from different people, and just have a good dialogue about it. So
yeah, it is a great conversation. Charles, I want to thank you for stepping in.
Charlie.
Also,
Anytime,
too,
I was here sweeping up, vacuuming, doing the windows, and Alberto called me.
Charlie's always the go-to guy.
He is. He is. Right. And I want to thank our program director, Edmund Ray, out there on the other side, doing his thing. I want to say I appreciate you, man. And thank you again, Carmen. We might call you on again because you give good perspective. Like you come from damn. See, I make sure I say the right words with this girl because she's gonna check me on it.
Yeah, she will.
Not like a great educational perspective. Like what you're talking about, and
or I fake it.
No, you know what you're talking about, and you have a lot of experience in the community that we don't have. We're all opinion based, so you could come with facts. So, I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
All right, so we'll be back here next Sunday, with another guest, Joe Queen Santos. I don't know if I'm saying his name.
Yeah. Joe Queen Santos.
All right, Joe King Santos. He's a musician, drummer. He has his own band. We're gonna talk about his journey and his band. But we'll be back next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for listening. I'm gonna end it with some gospel. Some Kurt Franklin. Imagine Me. Y'all listen to the Frequency Live on WNB1 Radio. Have a good night and good week.